Greetings everyone, this is Timothy, also Digital Apothecary, and tonight I thought it'd be kind of cool to talk about what is going on in the retail space for pharmacy in terms of advancements in digital health. In particular, I'll be focusing on CVS and Walgreens. So I'm going to kind of go through a bunch of web pages, either through news pieces or associated, so you can keep along with that and just keep watching and you'll see me talk about these different areas and trying to give some commentary on the whole idea. So let's switch myself down a little lower. Okay, so first things first, there's a lot of money being pumped into this space. It seems that CVS is going to spend $325 million expected in digital healthcare, and then Walgreens itself is also expected to spend $300 million in digital health in this year too. So both CVS and Walgreens are going pretty big in the grand scheme of things in the digital health space. CVS has put a number of items out about what they think is going on, and they have identified several trends: analytics, digital health tools, value-based care. So analytics and digital health in value-based care, to me, I think the reason why it's a big focus is because of the Aetna deal. You're going to basically see a pipeline now of patients that fall under CVS basic care. So they'll have Aetna, they'll have a payer and insurance, they'll have all their CVS storefronts, they'll have a PBM, they'll have a mail order, they'll have long-term care. They basically have all these patients in a silo. They're going to own these guys, and so instead of just delivering medications and making money from the medications, now they have to make money from basically providing care for them as well. So they have to maximize that. CVS does not employ any physicians as as a huge, as a hospital or anything, but they do have mini clinics, but those aren't in every store. So the concept here is, how do you expand level of care through technology and other services and bring them in? I think that's why we're seeing some partnerships appear with CVS with different telemedicine services, and Walgreens is doing that too, but also exploring different avenues. And I mean, they've been aware of it, and I've been watching them for a few years now in terms of their some statements they put out. They are really captivated by the idea of technology to basically improve care. If you work in a pharmacy, you probably heard of them rolling out different things, trying to sync up medications and other paths that they're adding on. But it's kind of almost one big plan. I think it just moves very slowly because they're a big organization. Even now, they're trying to compete with Amazon through delivery and also services and their membership. You also see they're rolling out their multi-dose delivery system, just like PillPack. So they are cognizant of this stuff, and they're trying to get up to speed with it. One thing that does interest me is Health Hub. So if you're not aware of Health Hub, I'll bring this up here quick. Basically, it's this idea that how to use the CVS storefronts, especially the front end, as a space for digital health and other services. So they had 3 pilot stores right now in Texas, but they're expected to expand them across the United States. And basically, it's imagine if you took the front end, destroy maybe 1/3 of it, and put in offices and such that allow patients to navigate different chronic disease management, but also engage them in wellness. So he's talking about putting yoga classes in there and other health and wellness classes as well, and combining with mini clinics to basically help out their patients. There's no word on where the pharmacist falls into this, and this is one thing I'm very curious about: is pharmacy and pharmacists going to be involved in this whole movement for it? It's unknown at this current time. I haven't seen anything really come about there. Along with that, then, is CVS is getting into the digital therapeutic space, and they recently announced that they teamed up with Big Health. Big Health is an interesting company, and you can read this Medium post from Big Health talking about this partnership. But what they're known for is their one solution called Sleepio. And what Sleepio is, it's supposed to be, they call it a digital therapeutic, and it's supposed to help patients better manage their sleep. And if CVS constantly rolls out these different partnerships or integrations with digital therapies, I think this fits into this whole wellness scheme, trying to offer services. And I can imagine them start expanding beyond that. I mean, you look at Blue Cross Blue Shield; they're already working with Ovia, Omada, and Livongo. So the CVS also going to look to make these kind of partnerships to help manage or help with wellness coaching. But the thing is, if you keep going this digital path, I think, the idea of them having a pharmacist or anyone else provide this type of coaching kind of dissipates, rather than saying, oh, let me talk to you about how you can sleep better. Be like, okay, well, here's an app for it, and here's a service, and we're partnered with it, and you can use it. And that's a concern to me, especially how it goes in there. So it might turn into, could we use pharmacists as a so-called digital health coach instead, or a navigator? That might be one thing, instead of actually providing direct patient care on the interventions. I don't know, but this is wondering where this is CVS and Walgreens might be trying to navigate towards. Another one would be the fact that CVS Caremart's also going that route too, because that's how it's falling under. So, I honestly think that we'll see more of these integrations pop up over the next year, especially with the Health Hub being this focus. Like when we see the Health Hub supporting like wearables, home testing, things like that. That's honestly what I think this is going to turn into. And the other thing that was really interesting that came out a few days ago was that CVS is also moving into the whole idea of using home dialysis. This came out of left field for me. I would never imagine CVS propositioning home dialysis services, but there's apparently they're going to be doing a clinical trial on this. And again, I think this reinforces the fact that it goes along with Aetna and trying to establish value-based care and trying to tap into different services that I think in the past we would never expected from a pharmacy organization or pharmacy company to go into. This is a type of thing that if CVS can make bigger, I think we really proposition them further ahead than any other competitor. I think this blows out, independence. I think this blows out a lot of other places. Only other large companies will be able to compete with this, like Walgreens, maybe Rite Aid, and Walmart. But this is, I would never have thought, I'm going to get dialysis service from CVS. That would never come across my mind. But this is the kind of stuff I think from an innovation standpoint that's really going to get bigger over time. Jumping ship a little bit, then talking about Walgreens, what we've seen is that Walgreens has actually tied up with Microsoft to start looking at digital health. No real idea where that's going to go. That was announced back in January, and I'm not sure what's been coming out of it. It was just highlighted. This is something they're going to get into. There's a whole stat article about it, but I say if you have time, give it a read and just see what they're going to try doing with it. But the bigger news, I think, is Walgreens. What they rolled out with this whole idea is, if you're not aware, it's called Find Care. So if you just Google Walgreens Find Care, you'll pull this thing up. But they're supplying different services. So one would be telemedicine services. So here you can actually talk to a doctor through an app, which is through ND Live. But look at this cost. It's about $60 without insurance. CVS also offers a similar service without insurance, though, as well. But I wonder, with Aetna and everything else going through, if they actually would then cover it and go. I think that's going to be a big deal once that reaches there, because we are seeing telemedicine services creep up heavily year to year. There are a lot of companies in this space, but I think that's something that's going to be big. They also dermatology care, then also online therapist, which is a little higher. I find the second opinion relatively interesting, though, because look at the cost associated. $550, $800. But two that really made the news recently was that they are going to go with Dexcom and Propeller Health. So Dexcom is a continuous glucose monitoring device. Think about the Freestyle Libre, which you attach on your arm, which lasts about 2 weeks. About 2 weeks. Then you have Dexcom, which attaches to the abdomen instead, and that lasts a little longer. But it's the whole idea, again, that you can continuously monitor glucose levels. This is very beneficial for people who have had incidences of hypoglycemia. It's supposedly going to help drive down better target A1Cs, can help you better manage how much insulin you can give, things like that. So continuous glucose monitoring is really picking up. The fact that the team of Dexcom, I think, is relatively interesting. Another one would be Propeller Health. This is a sensor-enabled service. So what it does is you put a sensor on top of an inhaler, and then from that, what you can then do is detect actuations, and then you can determine how often someone's using their inhaler. SureScripts, I think, did this as well, or another company. Maybe it was Express Scripts, I'm thinking. But they had actually a pharmacist team that was monitoring their patients, and the whole thought process was, okay, well, if you maybe have asthma or COPD exacerbation, you're probably using your ProAir ventilators, whatever, more often than required. How can you monitor that? So like remote patient monitoring, saying, okay, this person's like really using an inhaler, something wrong. Maybe we should check in with them. Otherwise, you may never know if unless they took the initiative and called their physician first before they go to an ER and have to be hospitalized, which obviously now the hospitalization drives up costs further. Versus if you can intervene earlier, or maybe outpatient, at least the cost would be much lower. So again, from a payer side, this looks like a good intervention, because then you can basically drive down costs. The other thing is how well technique is going on. There's an interesting study from Propeller that showed that people were just using a lot of their inhalers up to almost 80% incorrectly. So like you were talking like albuterol SABA for a rescue inhaler, what you were seeing that people would like take one puff instead of waiting 60 seconds. They would just take one puff, wait 2 seconds, take another puff. So they weren't even holding their breath in between and getting the best out of the medication. So I think that's relatively interesting. We have access to that data compared to the past. Next with that then is also, there's this movement from Everlywell, and this comes back to what I mentioned about like lab testing. And what they're going to do is they're going to be putting these tests on CVS and Target shelves. If you look into Everlywell, you can see they have all these different tests. So food sensitivity, vitamin D tests, metabolism tests, thyroid tests. So there's a bunch of these that exist that they'll be able to do. Home testing to me is a huge area that's growing big. If you look at my other video I have on digital health startups, I think are going to be huge in the next few years. Home testing I think is going to be big. And I think it's just because of the failure of Theranos. So Theranos was that whole idea, you take a little drop of blood, you put in their Einstein testing unit, and it could basically do all the work for you. Walgreens and Safeway were huge investors in it. I think Walgreens got burned because of just how much money they lost. They were opening up lab space to basically do all this stuff. I think they were hoping to use this to tie into MTM services and other things, and it just did not work out. So, you know, Quest Diagnostics and everything else is still on the table, but patients still don't want to go to labs. If you can find out how to do tests easier and in the home, I think people are going to gravitate to it. I think home mailing of tests are going to pick up huge. It's just a matter of how to do it. Blood work is always going to be an issue, but if you can start getting tests from other services, then I'll go with it. So yeah, so that would basically summarize some of these things that are going on. So if you're not aware of it, this is basically the space we're playing with. We're seeing a huge movement between even these two companies into the digital health space and engaging a lot of different startups. And they're making a lot of partnerships and a lot of interventions. And where I see it being for pharmacists and pharmacy as a whole interesting is whether or not ultimately the companies are going to leverage pharmacists as a clinical service to supplement all this, or if they're going to just have us just recommend things out to patients. Are they expecting us to help set up the stuff, understanding how to use it? I am not sure, and I'd be very, very curious to have a conversation with anyone that does know, or even hear from them just saying like, oh, this is the direction we want to go. It's like CVS Health Hubs, I see as a great opportunity, but the way it's looking right now, I don't know. I think is it just going to be another front-end service that's just offered that someone else will take over and pharmacists still are on the bench and not really doing anything with it? I think that to me would be a very depressing thought. Just because, you know, if you think about just that human resource right there, I think it's very powerful and you can leverage it well. Again, though, it comes down to training and just knowledge. And I think at this current time, many people in the pharmacy profession aren't even aware of this stuff going on in the global scheme of things. But, yeah, so hopefully this got you up to speed on in terms of in the past year what has gone on. I'll probably be looking more into these things and probably highlighting several. And I'll probably be talking about home testing coming up, maybe talking about how Dexcom and Propeller Health might be working with Walgreens and things like that. And maybe even doing analysis on the health hubs if I get more information as they come out. But if you have any questions or comments, leave them below. And otherwise, this is Timothy Young's, the Digital Apothecary. Take care and have a good day.